Hello, and welcome back to the Modeling Success in Action podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, and today I am joined by Sharon Pendlington. Now, Sharon is a qualified mindfulness-based stress reduction facilitator, registered holistic nutritionist, certified health and well-being coach, and yoga instructor, with a decade of clinical experience supporting women's midlife hormone health. She offers a 90-day Stress to Serenity group coaching and mentoring program for women to break free from stress and master emotional wellness so that they can restore their sleep, energy, mood, and connection. Welcome, Sharon. It's so awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Jessica. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So Sharon and I actually met because she was an attendee at a different menopause talk that I was co-hosting with Dr. Maltari. Now, Dr. Maltari has actually already been on the show. So those of you listening, if you're going, who is that? You can go back and find her episode. But Sharon and I connected, and there was just so much overlap and awesome, ways of perspective that we both had, that I was like, you got to come on and share this with the listeners here. So thanks for joining us. So I'd love to, toss it over to you and start by just asking, how did you get into this whole world of supporting women specifically with this mindfulness journey? Was that just, something you pulled out of thin air, or was it a personal thing?
It was definitely a personal thing. I had my own menopause journey, but actually always struggled with hormones, even ever since puberty, very, very heavy periods. And then after the birth of my first child, probably postpartum depression, never diagnosed. And then with perimenopause came mood swings and forgetfulness, like quite bad forgetfulness. And the biggest thing for me was severe insomnia. So to the point where I was only sleeping 20 minutes a night
Oh,
for
wow.
several years. And so it was always on my radar to be looking at what can work? How can I fix this? How can I resolve this? And when I found things that were helpful, I always just wanted to bring them to other people.
So you kind of were looking for tools to help and support you. And then when you found the ones that worked, you're like, okay, cool. How can I spread this around?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's when I did my nutrition training and my yoga training. I found things that were helpful in both of those. And then more recently, mindfulness-based stress reduction. I would have to say that practice really was the thing that turned my sleep around. Other
Mhm.
things were quite helpful, wasn't completely fully resolved until I was able to recognize my own part in it. So my own stress reactivity and how that was contributing to my sleep issues.
Yeah. So how did you notice your own part in it? Did someone have to hold up like a mirror to reflect it to you, or were you able to like kind of rise up above it in self level?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of both, to be honest. I had a really great mentor in my teacher training for mindfulness-based stress reduction, and I had quite a few aha kind of moments in that process. It's a several year process. I would say the biggest thing was that I came to notice, which when I talk about it now, it seems so obvious. Like, how did you not realize this until your 50s? But I came to notice that I was carrying some beliefs with me from my childhood. I grew up in a very chaotic childhood, and I believed that I needed to take care of other people because my mom was a single mom. So I was really the caregiver a lot. And if I could keep everything in control and, just have my whole environment under control, that everything would be okay. So it was that realization that, oh, I'm still carrying these beliefs with me. And do I need to carry those beliefs with me? Are they still serving me anymore? And it was realizing that, oh, you are trying to fix things and get everything in order, even in the middle of the night. I will fix this, even
Mm.
if it's just in my head for the next day. Right. And that was just keeping me in the stress response, keeping my cortisol levels high, preventing me from sleeping.
Mhm. Yeah. And so it's so interesting that, like, when you look back on it, you can see all the little patterns that you were running and all the beliefs that you had and the way that it was, causing you to interact in life. But at the time, you're probably like, I'm not that stressed of a person, like,
Oh yeah.
right?
I would have doctors ask me, how's your energy? You must be so exhausted. I was always, no, my energy is great. I have so much energy
Right? You're
because
just
my
like,
adrenal glands were just producing cortisol all the time. I
yeah,
was functioning very well. Most people would not know that I was sleeping 20 minutes a
that's
night.
that's wild.
Yeah. I kind of miss that connection because I seem to
Mhm,
have high energy. Everything else was going okay, but I was
mhm.
just so used to operating on that model of just
Yeah.
keep going, just keep going.
That's like running an engine on no gas though, right? Like there's movement there, but it's gonna burn out. Yeah.
Right.
So then speaking of stress, so like how does stress affect like those midlife hormones? Like does it make the hormone fluctuation worse? Like what's happening there with the stress response?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. This is such an important piece that I feel like most women are not aware of. So, of course, during perimenopause, we see a decline in progesterone. Then our estrogen goes through big fluctuations. And then the estrogen levels decline as we get closer to menopause. The adrenal glands are meant to produce hormones for us, kind of like we have this built in backup system of hormones that help those big fluctuations just be a little calmer so we can avoid those symptoms of hot flashes and sleep disruption and mood changes and cognitive changes. So the adrenals are meant to do that. The tricky thing is the adrenals also produce our stress hormones. And those are survival hormones. So those are necessary. Your body, if given the choice, do I need to produce a stress hormone right now, or do I need to produce some progesterone or some estrogen? You bet it's going to produce cortisol instead.
Ah, okay. Now, is that just because the cortisol is like a more easily manufactured hormone that's happening there? Or is it like, like the fast energy? Like, like I'm thinking about eating
Yeah.
simple carbs. Yeah.
Yeah, so the cortisol is a survival hormone. So it is responsible for our fight or flight response. So it's very deeply rooted. So when the adrenals produce cortisol, we notice our heart rate goes up, our blood pressure goes up, our breathing goes up, we have higher blood sugar levels. This is all to give us energy so we can run or fight.
Mhm.
Now, this is what's priority, if you were running away from a tiger, right? So those hormones are always going to be prioritized. The problem is we're not running away from a tiger, but we are in chronic stress almost
Mhm.
all the time, a lot of us.
Yeah. Like it's interesting though because I I work a lot with clients who are coming in for all kinds of things and stress, even if it's not a stress management program, always lands on the table, right? We're
Mhm.
always talking about it.
Totally.
And we point out these coping stances that we take as humans that, to try and get us out of the discomfort of the stresses that we're feeling, the dysregulation in the body. And so we go to these kind of weird places. Um, and and so I see it coming up over and over again that people are not, really in reality with like what's happening. They're treating the emails that are coming into their inbox like a tiger, right? They're treating, the worry about their relationship like there's some life or death thing. And it creates this kind of like really like it's almost like you're working with one hand tied behind your back, right? Like it disables your ability to be functioning in life in a totally useful way, right? It becomes this unuseful thing. So I love that you're really kind of showing us the neurological side of it and how that's happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's something that we can change,
Yeah.
right? There
Mhm.
is that possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were mentioning that, it made me think of, um, like imagine that you are having a nice walk, you're walking your dog in the forest, let's say, and then you realize, oh, I'm late for a meeting. Now, any stress is when we perceive a situation to be beyond our ability to cope with it. So obviously, we're not going to make it for the beginning of the meeting. The meeting's already started. Now, some of us are going to start worrying, and me, for example, my heart rate would go up. I could feel myself. I would feel myself sweating, thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late for this meeting, as though I could run there and get there on time,
Mhm.
which is impossible. And then the rest of us would think, oh, well, there's no way I can make it. And you would continue enjoying your walk, right? So some of us, it's the same situation, but some of us are going to go into the stress reactivity around it, and some of us are not.
Mhm.
So how can we choose that other path? Or how can we, even though we may notice, okay, I'm in the stress response, I'm getting hot, my heart rate's going, how can I get out of that sooner? Right?
Yeah.
How can I notice that, oh, I'm feeling stressed? Is this necessary? Is there another way that I can move forward with this?
Yeah. And it's pretty incredible, even in that example, that it's like, it's something that's happening. It's like, but it's not a real life thing in front of you. It's a thought that came into your brain. Oh, right. So like our thoughts create our internal reality to such a, big degree that like having one stressful thought can have this whole chain of reaction in the body. Right. So how do you, get in the way of those, those experiences, those stress responses that are going off in your body. Like if you're out for a walk in the woods now and you remember that you're late for something, what happens?
Yeah, well, part of it for me was, it was actually very shocking to realize that some people did not go in the stress response. Like, I figured that everyone was like me and would be worried about what their colleagues might think and have that negative light and have to be to the meeting on time. It was actually, and that's why like working in groups is so important, because we can learn so much from other people. So the fact that I realized, oh, I saw other people were like, yeah, it wouldn't bother me at all. I was shocked, could not
Mhm.
believe that. I
Right?
thought
There's someone
everyone
else
would
like,
have this stress reaction.
yeah, I'd just send an email saying, oh, I'm going to be late and then carry on the right?
Exactly. And that had not even crossed my mind as a possibility, not even considered it. So
Uh,
it was helpful to know that there are possibilities, for one. And I mean, nowadays I use a technique, right? So I use stop. So I literally stop what I'm doing, take a breath or something else that's grounding. For some people, it's their hands or their feet. For me, it's my breath. Observe what's going on. Okay, yeah, I feel my heart rate going up. I feel maybe there's other thoughts associated with that. What are people going to think if I'm late? And then I can plan how I want to proceed, right? So, okay, what's the best next step? Am I going to get there on time? No. Is there any point in me trying to run there right now?
mhm.
Probably not. So just making it just opens up more space for us to make different choices, have different behaviors when we
Yeah.
just insert a little bit of mindfulness and we're aware of what's actually happening for us.
So how does somebody start to cultivate that awareness?
Well, it's a practice. So first we become self-aware. So we start to notice, what are my automatic ways of reacting to stress? Because they're pretty limited. There might be just a list of a few different ways that you tend to react to stressful situations, whether they're external stressors or internal stressors.
Yeah, you definitely have some
Um,
patterns running.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can start to become aware of that. And one way to do that is with mindfulness. So just simply being aware of what's happening moment to moment. This isn't something most of us are taught. It's certainly not something that our society promotes. Being mindful, we tend to promote striving, achieving outcomes, doing, rather than slowing down and being and noticing. So creating time for that, whether that's a formal meditation practice and learning those tools, or whether you're being more mindful in your everyday life. Like actually just choosing a simple thing could be choosing a task you do anyways. Might be showering, it might be washing the dishes, brushing your teeth, and just try to do it mindfully. Just see what comes up for you. You might realize, wow, I thought I was brushing my teeth mindfully, but really I'm just thinking about something that happened yesterday or something I need to do later on today.
Hmm. Yeah. And how many times during those moments of intentional mindfulness are you like having your brain wander off to your grocery list and all of that stuff, right? Yeah.
Right. And
Like,
that's an important piece, actually, because the mind is going to wander. We're not trying to clear the mind, it's going to wander. We simply notice this and without getting engaged in the thought. So, yes, you're going to be thinking about what you're going to make for breakfast after you brush your teeth, but you just notice that rather than get carried away in that thought. Oh, well, maybe I should, I had this yesterday. I'm trying to increase my protein. So maybe I will make this. And you can get carried away for many, many minutes on what you're going to make for breakfast later. Then you just notice, oh, yeah, I really got carried away there with some friendliness, with some kindness. Okay, I'm coming back to just noticing brushing my teeth. What do I
mhm.
feel? What do I hear when I'm brushing my teeth?
Yeah. So, how has this like becoming more intentional, more in the moment, more mindful? How has that rippled out in your life? What's your experience of it been like?
Hmm. Honestly, Jessica, I feel like it's changed so much for me. And that would be a really great question to ask my family and my friends because
Right?
they would really notice.
It's so
Um,
true.
it is. Well, at least I hope that they would notice because this is all a time investment, right? We have to prioritize this. So I've noticed it. I hope that the people I care about most notice it. Um, for one, I have a very different relationship with my kids. You can imagine being the person that wanted to control everything to
Mhm.
being the person that's available and not needing to control anything, at least not as much. I can't say that. I, I'm
There's
not
no such
perfect,
thing
that's
as
for sure.
perfect. Yeah.
Right. So that's probably something I'm most proud of, that ripple effect is that piece. At the time, I was going through menopause. I was caregiving for my mother in another province who I had been estranged from for almost 20 years. And I was able to do that with some mindfulness and some intention and actually have some sort of relationship with my mother during that difficult time that honestly would not have happened had I not been just paying attention to trying to be mindful and the benefits of that. And also the friendliness, the kindness and the self-compassion, the acceptance. These are all things that are naturally cultivated when we're practicing mindfulness well. So those are two things that stick out for me. My relationship with my mother before she passed and then my relationship with my kids probably.
Mhm.
Even my partner too, my husband, like I often one of my go-to ways of coping was blame because I mentioned my childhood was very chaotic. So I there was never any possibility of someone else accepting responsibility for something. It was always put on me. So that belief system of, ooh, I can't be wrong. I have to be perfect. Um, if something went wrong, I would automatically blame. I would find someone else to blame. So that often fell on my husband, of course. And so that was a really big piece too, I think, that just shifting that automatic coping strategy to something more helpful.
Mhm. So as you were saying that, I was thinking about people who, carry these kinds of stances with them, right? The blaming stance is a really common one, right? But when we're shifting the blame onto other people, it's often because, like you said, you don't want it to feel like it's your fault, right? Or you don't want to be the one who's made a mistake. And so like, how did you allow yourself to be willing to have it be your fault, right? Or because a lot of people would go, well, then I'm going to get into guilt or I'm going to get into shame about things. So,
Mhm.
how'd you navigate that?
Yeah. So it was probably the cultivation of self compassion and self acceptance in the process that made me better able to navigate that. Oh, I actually need to take responsibility for this.
Mhm.
This is something I did.
Yeah.
So it just opened up that possibility. Part of it was just being aware that I was blaming, like taking some of the skills in mindfulness based stress reduction. Part of it is working on it throughout the week in your everyday life and noticing when something's uncomfortable, how do you react? So I was noticing, oh, quite a pattern here that I wasn't even aware of before.
Mhm.
Everyone else probably was aware that Sharon can't take blame, but I was not aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Mhm.
isn't it interesting when we can level with ourselves and, like, be honest and then be in acceptance? Like, maybe you've even had a sense of humor about it. It sounds like you do now, right? I think that you're able to laugh about it and go, "Oh, yeah, that's how it used to be."
Right. It's a little easier to laugh about it now for sure.
Yeah. Ugh. So, okay, so if somebody, that's listening right now, they're going, "Okay, that sounds good. I want some of that." I'd like to have better
Mm.
relationships with my family, my partners, whatever, and they want to start this for themselves, or even if they're just thinking, "Hey, man, this hormone shift has been totally chaotic, and I'd love to, sleep better tonight." What could they do to start even just today?
Yeah, today. So something quick that I often would recommend as far as a short tool that you can use right away is the relaxation response breath practice. So this has quite a lot of evidence around actually regulating our cortisol levels. You can visit my website if you're interested and download that practice. It's SharonPendlington.com, and it's the relaxation response breath practice. So that's something that can be done today that will help you, fall back asleep if you wake up in the middle of the night, or if you're having hot flashes. A lot of evidence for supporting hot flashes because it reduces our cortisol levels. That's something quick that can be done today.
How quick is it? Could we do it now?
Yeah, if you want to take a couple of minutes, let's do it now.
Let's try it, and then people can listen along and do it if they want to. If you're driving, don't do this, but otherwise
Okay, perfect. So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe just settle into a comfortable position where you feel somewhat relaxed. So, maybe feet on the floor if you're seated, or if you're lying down, just settle into the support that's beneath you. And begin by just noticing the breath without having to change it at all. Just notice that the body is breathing. And notice the length of your in breath and the length of your out breath. Perhaps notice the expansion of the belly on the inhale and the drawing back of the belly on the exhale. So we're just inviting the breath now into the nostrils and deep into the belly. Just taking that deep belly breath, expanding the belly. And as you exhale, the belly draws back and the breath travels back up and out the nostrils. If you have the capacity, you can gently lengthen your exhalation. Not by a lot, just make the exhale just slightly longer, slowing down that exhale. Watching each inhale and each exhale. And then on the exhalation, repeating one word with each exhale, just in your mind. Doesn't even matter what the word is. It could be peace, calm, now, doesn't matter what the word is. Notice your next in breath. Slow exhale, repeating that one word. And that's the practice. You can kind of check in if even over that probably couple minutes, whether you notice a change in your body mind. I typically would encourage practicing that a few times, just to get used to it so that you can use it when it's needed. Ideally, we're practicing it a few times a day to keep our cortisol levels regulated. And it can often take quite a while to even find the breath. So that's very normal. We're not used to paying attention to our breath. So it might just be several days of practicing. Where's my breath? Where do I feel my breath? That's okay. And then eventually changing the breath pattern a little bit.
That was awesome. I don't know about everybody else who's listening, but I certainly feel even more relaxed, which is interesting because I was feeling relaxed as we were doing everything before this, and I'm even more grounded now, which is very cool. Thank you so much for
Great.
for taking us through that, Sharon. I really appreciate that. And it
Mm.
was it was a cool experience for me because when you said, choose a word, I had before you even gave the examples of words we could choose, I had chosen the word apple, and I was like, oh well, I'm like, this isn't a word, like this has nothing to, I'm like, but I'm going to be non-judgmental about this, and I'm just going to keep this word. Like she said, it doesn't
Perfect.
matter. So
It really truly does not
yeah,
affect. The word you choose
yeah,
can be apple.
yeah.
That's the word. I'm going to be using apple now every time I practice this, probably. But it really literally does not matter the word.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
that was so fantastic. Thank you so much. So before we wrap up today, is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners with at all?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty complete. Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate this. Thank you.
I feel like that's a really beautiful place to leave it. So thank you, Sharon, for coming on the show. I'm going to leave all of her contact details below. So if you want to get in touch with her, or if you want to have another opportunity to practice that technique, her website will be below. You can go and you can find it there. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.